If you're just joining this newscast, we want to let you know what's been going on. There is a heavy police presence at West Johnston High School in West Johnston County in Benson. We have learned from the Johnston County Sheriff that the scene is now secure and that there was simply an incident at the school, but we don't know the details around that incident. Laura Leslie has just arrived to the scene. She's providing a different vantage point than Brian Mims just provided. Laura, what are you learning?
I am seeing, well, as you can see, we're a little bit away from the school. You can see a whole lot of flashing blue lights arrayed around the school right now. Right now, we don't have a lot of details. As Brian was just saying, you know, we've heard people say that people came into the school that were not students, that were not supposed to be at the school. What we know right now from the Johnston County Sheriff's Office is that the school is secure at this point, and it seems like everyone is safe. As you can see, it looks like most of the law enforcement in Johnston County probably at this school right now. Again, this is West Johnston High School. Again, we're told that the school is secure and that everyone is safe at this point, but we're waiting for a lot more details from Sheriff Bizzle, who we're hoping we're going to be talking to here in very short order.
Yeah, Laura, Brian just talked to Marshall Howe, a parent who goes to school at Wake Tech, who got a text message from his son saying that 7 unauthorized people entered the school this morning, according to Sheriff Steve Bizzle, and that 4 of them were in custody, but the other 3 were unaccounted for.
I do want to...
And it looks like that...
Yeah, it looks like there's someone walking. So a large number of, looks like Johnston County deputies just emerged from the school. They just walked out of the school, and it looks like they're walking one man. I'm not sure if that man has on handcuffs, but you can see there as they walk kind of toward the trees that he's being accompanied by a deputy. But we did see a lot of deputies just come out of the school, which, again, Bill and Laura, it appears to be good news that they're at least the scene inside the school may be okay now, and now they're coming outside. But
we had the lockdown earlier, and then the news release came out from the sheriff's office saying the high school was secure. And at that point, we had a large number of parents who were congregated near the school, not that close, but back a little ways, and they began to retreat and also talked to Brian and some other people on the scene, saying they could go and pick up their loved ones, their children inside the school. And Highway Patrol, the sheriff there, it is a lot of law enforcement on that scene. I bet everybody in the area is there right now.
Laura, what are you seeing of parents right now? Are they still lined up in vehicles? What are they doing?
Well, we are not. We are a little ways away from the school, so we can bring you this shot to show you the overall. So there are no parents on the. We're on a road right next to the school. We're not seeing parents at this point, but I expect we'll be seeing some of them pulling in as parents get the word and want to come see what's going on.
Again, according to a parent who was there a little bit earlier, said he had a conversation with the sheriff that 7 unauthorized intruders made their way onto the campus of West Johnston High School in Benson. There were no signs of weapons, but obviously a concern when people who are unauthorized, make an appearance on a school campus these days with all of the troubles that we've had in other states. Apparently 4 were taken into custody, 3 were unaccounted for, and we don't know if that number has changed since the person, Marshall Howe, spoke with Brian Mims and after speaking with the sheriff, Steve Bizzle.
As far as we know right now, the school is still on lockdown, though. So in that vantage point that we just switched away from, you saw a number of cars. Well, those were parents who were waiting to pick up their students, their children. One parent saying that she was going to stay there until her kid got out of that school. But again, we are hearing that the students are safe. We are hearing that the scene is secure. But you can imagine, based on what happened in Parkland, Florida, and in other places in our country this year, that parents are very anxious and just want to see their children to see that they are okay. But you can see the parents kind of lining up there with this vantage point, some in their cars and then some just kind of waiting with a barrier that it appears that police formed so that they could have a safe distance from the school.
They are a little bit closer to the school now than they were just a few minutes ago. They were next to that green structure to your left in the foreground there. And we haven't heard of anyone getting hurt or anything like that, but kind of a scary situation when unauthorized intruders make their presence on a school campus these days. And you know how the news can spread like wildfire through tweets and social media and just text messaging, and a lot of concerned parents. And of course, I think we all have been concerned about this since this incident happened well over an hour ago.
Yeah, I think it's a gift and a curse that you can communicate immediately with social media, with text messages to get information to your families, to your friends, but also it can create a sense of panic when once you get that information and you're hearing on social media that children are huddled in a closet or huddled together for safety and then not knowing what's going on. But the Johnston County Sheriff did immediately say the school is secure to at least put parents at ease a bit. But again, a long line of parents there at the scene waiting to pick up their kids. I'm sure there's no way to focus after an incident like this on your studies in school.
Yeah, we are working right now to interview Sheriff Bizzle. We are expected to have that just momentarily. Steve Bizzle, the veteran sheriff of Johnston County. I'm sure he'll have some words about what happened today. I don't know exactly what all he can tell us at this point, but the investigation does point to some intruders on campus. But as far as we know, we haven't heard of any sign of weapons, though we saw heavily armed law enforcement officials on the scene.
Which I'm sure is customary when they're going into a scene where they don't know specifically what the threat is, or just to be proactive. But again, the concern... Okay, we understand that Sheriff Bizzle is now ready to give us an update. Let's listen in.
Hey, Sheriff, this is Bill Leslie, WRAL. How are you doing, and what's the situation there at West Johnston High School?
Bill, we're doing better now. I am live at West Johnston High School. Numerous deputies, law enforcement officers were called at the school after 7 individuals entered the front office of the school. They were quickly were questioned. 3 of them fled the school. No weapons were involved. We have all 7 individuals in our custody as I speak. The school was on lockdown in a timely manner. School officials and law enforcement acted professionally and promptly. And again, no weapons were involved. We have 7 individuals that are in our... And good thing about it, the Lord smiled on us today. No injuries, and everyone is fine. The school was on lockdown in a timely manner, as they have trained on. So I just wanted to go ahead and give you a call. Our students are safe, staff is safe, law enforcement is safe, and the suspects are in our custody.
Is that building a secure building? Do you know how they got in the school in the first place?
They actually walked in the front door and were confronted there at the door. But like I said, staff acted promptly and quickly. They were there apparently they had called a student or texted a student and were going to come to pick their friend up. When the friend didn't exit the school in a timely manner, in their own opinion, they decided to come into school. So that's pretty much the basis of why they were here at this minute from information that I am receiving.
So this was a collective group of people with one purpose, Sheriff Bizzle, or I mean, who were these people?
They were 5 males and 2 females. They appear at this time to be from Raleigh. They arrived on scene on 2 separate vehicles, and everything we've got at this point that they had had a conversation from a student and were en route to pick their friend up. And again, when the friend didn't exit the school in a timely manner, according to them, they decided that they were going to come in to check the student out.
And have they been arrested, and are you booking them in Smithfield or what?
They have left the scene here with deputies as I speak. They're en route at the sheriff's office in Smithfield. We were going to question them, and I can assure you any applicable law will be charged.
So you said these students were waiting for, or these people, these 7 people were coming in directly to get this person. Do you know if that's the truth, or do you think this is potentially gang related? It seems odd that 7 students or 7 people would go into a school just to get one person to come out.
It is very odd. I agree with you 100%. We have not confirmed if this is gang related or not. We have no information at this minute to say yes or no.
So what is your next step in the case, Sheriff Bizzle? And again, thank you so much for talking with us. I know you're a busy man.
We always got the time to let the public and the media know. As we continue the investigation, we will get out some information. I will call you back myself and going to let you know what's going on.
If I can ask you just one last question, Sheriff
Yes,
Bizzle,
ma'am.
what are the ages of these people, these 7 people that walked in?
They are, most of them appeared to be in their teen years. There was 5 males and 2 females, and appear at this time to be from the Raleigh area, but we have not confirmed that yet.
So they were teenagers.
All right. Sheriff Steve Bizzle, thank you so much for speaking with us, and we'll be talking to you a little bit later as you gather more information on this investigation. Right now,
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you very much. And let's go to Brian Mims right now, who is live on the scene with some new information. Brian? Sorry, we're having a little problem with Brian's audio from the scene at West Johnston High School in Benson. As you can see, really a chaotic scene there today, as Sheriff Bizzle announced that 7 teenagers, apparently from Raleigh, came to the school unauthorized to meet someone there, and they were all taken into custody. 4 were immediately taken into custody, 3 fled and were later apprehended.
This is a new vantage point that we have now from Sky 5 above the scene. And now you can see that very long line of cars, I'm sure, filled with very anxious parents wanting more information and to know and see their kids and know that they are okay. But we have learned directly from Sheriff Bizzle that all students and staff are okay, that the 7 people who walked into the school unauthorized are now in their custody, and they will be charged appropriately if they find a reason to. At this point, we asked directly if these 7 people are potentially part of a gang, if they were coming for a more nefarious reason. He said right now that's not confirmed. All they know is that these were 7 people that walked into the school that should not have come into the school, and that staff directly and immediately approached these people when they came into the school, which is positive news, good news, especially with parents being concerned at how they even got in there in the first place.
The sheriff was quite impressed with how the school handled the situation. He said those 7 people are now en route to Smithfield to be questioned at the sheriff's office there, and he said, as Lena just mentioned, that any appropriate charges would be applied in this case. But a very chaotic scene. It's one of those situations where you can see the long line of traffic around that school. I think we can hear you a little bit better this time around.
Yeah, and I'm joining you by phone now. We have little transmission issues with our live equipment, but I can tell you that I'm standing right in front of the school, West Johnston High School, and I am seeing a long line of traffic going into school, leading to the front of the school. Parents are here, clearly concerned. I've seen some of them panicked, and at one point when several sheriff's deputies' cars left the school, parents were shouting at them. I didn't quite decipher what they were saying, but they were essentially yelling at the deputies as they went by. So I'm not quite sure what that was about. And I do have with me, I'd like to get her perspective on things. She is Crystal Roberts. She's the Chief of Communications and Engagement here in Johnston County Schools, though she is actually on the phone right now. She took a phone call. But I really want to get her perspective on things and how the school is responding. Now, at my vantage point, I'm seeing parents and kids. It looks like students. Well, these are probably parents. They look very young, running toward the school, running toward the front of the school, and there are kids coming out of the school now. You probably can see this from the aerial perspective provided by Sky 5, but I see kids spilling out of the schools, the school itself, and then there are parents running toward them. So certainly glad to be reunited
with
their
hugs.
children. So and I can see some hugs. Oh, the parents and grandparents and the loved ones are running toward their children. And I do want to talk with Crystal. She's off the phone now. I want to get a few words from you, Crystal Roberts, who's the Chief of Communication and Engagement. I've just been taking in this view of the front of the school and all the kids reuniting with their parents. So Crystal, can you give us a sense of how the school system is responding to this and helping parents and students guide their way through it?
At this point, we are totally relieved because all is safe, all is well, due to the diligence of our administrators who stopped these unarmed but unauthorized visitors at the front door. We were able to hold these people until our SRO was able to apprehend and do some further questioning. And because of that, they never got past the front office. So all is safe. Our students are safe, and we're just relieved. We thank the Sheriff's Department for their quick thinking and for the strong partnership we have.
It's important important information you pointed out about how far these unauthorized people made it. They did not get past the front office.
That's exactly right. And then immediately we went on perimeter lockdown, which means doors are locked, outside doors are locked, no one can get in, and no one can leave.
And to your knowledge, we heard this from the sheriff as well, but you have not heard anything about any weapons being found on campus or on these individuals?
No, sir. Have not heard about weapons, gunshots, nothing like that.
Brian?
Okay, I'm sorry. We're just going to move out of the shot for a moment. So,
Brian, I assume that as school is now out there. Can you hear me, Brian?
Yes.
And law enforcement immediately arrived.
Absolutely. Because we have FLOs at our high schools anyway. So he called in additional assistance.
Right. Now, do you know anything about these unauthorized people? Why were they unauthorized? Who they were?
We
former
do not.
students? Anything about it?
We do not. We do know that they are not current students. Mm-hmm.
They may have been former students at the school. But we don't know.
We don't know. That will be up to the further questioning that our law enforcement will take them through.
Okay. And Carol, I'm sorry, Crystal, what's next now? Are school dismissed for the rest of the day? I assume?
We have not dismissed school for the rest of the day. However, our parents are being allowed to pick up their children because we do understand that they want to hug their children.
Yeah.
So they are being allowed to sign their children out. For those children or students who drive, they are able to go through the proper attendance procedures to check themselves out, and they are able to leave school. But as far as the school day is concerned, all is on the same. We are on the same schedule.
Okay, so
regular schedule. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, Crystal, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, Brian Mims live on the scene of a scary situation that has a happy ending in Benson there at West Johnston High School.
Yeah, I have to say that image from Sky 5 of the students running out of the school to run to their parents was incredibly emotional considering what happened in Parkland, Florida.
Absolutely.
Laura Leslie is on the ground, I'm sure, seeing some of these reunions. What are you seeing, Laura?
We are actually talking to a student who was not at the school today, but who was a student at the school, and it's Dalton Briner. You are, what year?
I'm a senior.
You're a senior. So how did you hear about all this?
Through people texting me. A lot of people probably posted on social media about it, of course,
Right.
And I had people text me and ask me if I was all right or what's going on, and I didn't go today. I wasn't feeling good, so.
Right. But you came down here to see what was going on.
Yeah, I was up in Garner doing some stuff, and I heard about it, so I came down here to see what was up.
Now, you told me you were down there at the school just a few minutes ago where the parents are waiting. What were folks saying?
They're just scared. They want to get their kids out, of course, like any other parent would.
Right. After coming just a couple of weeks after Parkland in Florida, how, are people on edge?
Yeah, obviously. People are going to be. There's really not much you can do about it. Our school has been pretty lucky. We haven't had many threats or had any threats at all. So this is kind of a shocker. No weapons involved, so it's not too big of a deal, but it's still a pretty big issue.
Right. I mean, you hear about 7 people coming to pick up a friend. Does it seem a little strange to you?
Yeah, a little bit, but you know, everybody has a group of friends that they hang out with, so. But I mean, if you're going to walk into the school, you at least tell somebody you're there, let people know why you're there.
Right. You think you're going to be talking a lot to your friends who were in the building?
Yeah, most likely. Yeah, I'm sure I'll talk to them a lot about it.
All right, great. Well, Dalton, thanks so much for talking to us. Dalton Briner.
No problem.
Laura Leslie live on the scene.
And that is...
And go ahead, Laura. I'm sorry. I thought you were wrapping that up.
We were wrapping it up. We were just going to let you know we are going to try to head on down to the school, see if we can find some of those parents to speak to. Thanks very much, Dalton, for talking to us. I think he's on the phone right now with the folks who are texting him, trying to make sure that he was okay. I'm sure a lot of stories to be told, and we'll bring them to you a little bit later on today.
Right now, the people who are taken into custody are either on their way or at the sheriff's office in Johnston County in Smithfield to be questioned about why they came to the school unauthorized today. What were they doing there? And why were they there to pick up a friend, a so-called friend? You know, in this day and age, you don't just show up at a school and say you're going to meet somebody and just without being questioned. And they were quick to respond, according to the sheriff. The administrators there, you know, they put a stop to him, said, you're not going anywhere until we find out who you are, and the school resource officer is notified. He was, and then the convergence of law enforcement on the scene.
Yeah, the chief communications officer with Johnston County Schools says that those 7 people did not get past the front office. They said they were immediately approached, and then the school resource officer went to them to see what their goal was, what their purpose was for being in the school. We did learn that 3 students, or 3 people, there were 7 altogether, 3 ran away, yes, but they were quickly caught by deputies. And again, as you said, that they will receive appropriate charges once they figure out why they were there in the first place. But we have learned that school is not officially out, but they did tell students that they can go out to their families. They can leave if their parents are there, or if they just want to go home because of such a scary situation. They knew that parents wanted to see their kids, wanted to see their faces, and know that they were okay. And we have learned that everyone at the school, staff and students, are okay.
And what about that mysterious group that showed up today in Benson? Well, Mayor Bizzle described them as probably teenagers from Raleigh. Did I say what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm not promoting him to mayor. I'm talking about Sheriff Steve Bizzle. 5 male teenagers, 2 female there. Again, the breakdown was 4 were stopped immediately, 3 fled, and they were later apprehended and taken to Smithfield for questioning.
And you don't want to speculate. We have to be careful with speculation in an incident that's so high emotion and high drama as we're seeing here. But they came in 2 vehicles, and all 7 went into the school. I mean, you can totally understand why staff, administrators immediately said, hold on, what is your purpose here? Why are you here? And wanted to immediately make sure that students were safe. They said that they had a lockdown, a perimeter lockdown, which means that students could not get out and that no one could go in. So that was how we initially heard about this incident, that there was a lockdown, and there was indeed a lockdown. But again, we are now seeing that students are able to leave the school and that things are okay. A long line of parents, though, waiting to get to their kids.
Well, it seems like things worked today. This was an example of a school situation that worked, because they were not allowed to get past the front office there. School resource officer immediately came to the scene, and law enforcement was notified, and no one was hurt. And we are certainly thankful for that.
And we are thankful for the response. You know, some might think that there were a lot of deputies, there were a lot of law enforcement there without knowing what happened. But that is what you have to do. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the threat is. So we certainly appreciate the law enforcement and first responders. Let's listen in to Brian Mims. I understand that he's now interviewing someone at the school.
You didn't know. You didn't know.
But were you texting? Were you tweeting? Were you getting the word out?
Texting
you were
a lot.
to your mom and
my mom, aunts, uncles, everybody.
Okay. Oh gosh. Well, I'm glad glad this all came to a peaceful resolution. I want to make sure I got to get his name. What is your name?
Jeremiah Barber.
Jeremiah
Barber.
B-A-R-B-E-R.
B-O-U-R.
B-O-U-R. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that was Brian Mims interviewing a student. We'll have more on that interview a little bit later. But again, students very concerned today after a group of 7 intruders just kind of marched their way into the West Johnston High School saying they wanted to meet a friend there. And we don't know why. And certainly when you have things like that happen in this day and age, you're going to have a lot of consternation.
Absolutely. We did also hear from one parent. Brian Mims spoke to a parent who said, how did they get into the school? Is there a secure, are the doors locked? How were they able to just walk through the front door? Now, we are happy with the response immediately from staff and administrators once the 7 got into the school, but that parent was concerned, well, how did they get inside the school in the first place?
I mean, I've been to schools around in the area, and it's usually you can get into the front door. It's not that difficult to get inside a school, but you're immediately, checked out as soon as you walk through that door. Right now, we're going to go to Laura Leslie back on the scene. Laura, what do you have for us?
We're going to do a live.
A student and a parent who have some definite thoughts about what's going on here. What's your name, sir?
Mason.
Mason, and your last name?
Lancaster.
Were you inside the school?
I was.
So what happened?
Well, when I was in class, we were about to leave, and a lady had come over the announcements. She sounded pretty panicked. She said to hold all the students that we weren't allowed to leave, that we weren't allowed to go to our next class. And so, of course, we all followed procedure, and we sat down, and we, turned the lights off, all that other stuff. And I started seeing stuff on social media and news sites and stuff like that. And I heard the police got here pretty quickly, but I heard them checking doors. There was a person who had actually entered the classroom. I thought it was an administrator, but it might have been a janitor, who was, he had come in to check on us, and he said to just stay safe and just stay where you were. And he sounded pretty panicked too. So it was at that point, that was whenever people started freaking out because they all heard it. They all heard that he was pretty panicked.
Right. I mean, after Parkland, the people, this has got to be just kind of nerve-wracking.
Right. It is.